If you're a bow hunter, you've likely heard what has become maybe the most discussed topic in all of bow hunting. Are fixed or mechanical broadheads the better choice? So let's get to it. So are fixed heads really more durable? HuntStand's annual broadhead field test has proven to me that the best mechanical heads have come way up in durability, especially the blades. But when it comes to ultimate durability, the best fixed heads still trump every other head. And that includes the ability to quickly and easily change out the blades and reuse the same heads.
All right, I'm not going to disagree that fixed blade heads are generally more solid in construction. Anytime you have moving parts, you're more prone to something going wrong. And no doubt, you're more likely to be able to reuse fixed blade heads. There's no question with that. But if you're not worried about reusing your heads, then personally, from what I've seen with my experiences and those from my friends, good mechanical heads should perform on contact, even with bone. The very first deer I ever shot with a mechanical broadhead, I actually blasted through the front shoulder. It was broadside, got a full pass through. Deer only went probably 30 yards. When I recovered the arrow, I looked at the blades, and all 3 blades, even though it was a mechanical, they were still perfectly intact. And that was older technology, so we're talking like 10 years ago.
All right, so how about mechanicals? Do they lose energy while deploying? A few years ago, I went on a pretty amazing run of bagging 7 mature whitetail bucks in a row with a popular mechanical head. And I thought a new era was dawning. But then, in quick succession, using the very same head, I lost 2 of the largest bucks I've ever encountered from a tree stand. But in both cases, it was the how that stands out for me. So one of those bucks was completely broadside. It was maybe 18 yards, and the shot was right in the lungs. Yet I got just partial penetration and likely just 1 lung. The other was a steeply downward angle at about 20 yards, high in the lungs and well away from the spine area, and the result was the same. Just partial penetration, and likely another 1 lung hit and lost deer. To this day, I'm absolutely convinced I would have tagged both of those deer, which were shot in the vitals using a premium fixed head. I'm convinced the mechanical I used somehow lost energy encountering rib bones or cartilage that somehow just impeded the penetration.
Don't get me wrong, I've heard about deflection issues with fixed and mechanical broadheads. And personally, while I haven't run into any issues, I just think that overall shot placement trumps everything. I think it's really all about the shot 99% of the time. So going back to a story of my own, I made the mistake a long time ago. I shot a deer that was at too steep of an angle from a tree stand using a fixed blade head, and because of the steep angle, it just wasn't a good shot. It wasn't an ideal shot. That deer ran about a mile, and we were able to recover it eventually, but it was a close call. It was a long blood trail. The deer went way farther than it should have, and certainly the fixed blade head did not contribute to more blood loss. It did not help me. It was not a saving grace over a mechanical broadhead. It was all about the shot placement. So for me, you really need to pay attention to shot placement, shot angle, and envision where that arrow is going to exit above all.
Well, good points. And say I've lost animals with fixed heads on poor shots, and those would include, say, the no man's land area on deer just over the lungs, or maybe it's the meaty part of the neck or the brisket. Those are bad shots, but animals can move and things can happen. And while those are horrible results, the fact is many or most of those deer will survive. But when a deer is shot in the vitals, that deer needs to be recovered. And I believe most fixed heads will give you the best shot of that. So Josh, how about those who claim fixed heads are not as accurate? Again, our annual broadhead field test has proven to me that you're not giving up accuracy using the best fixed heads and a well-tuned bow. But in my case, I'm primarily a whitetail tree-standing bow hunter who limits the vast majority of my shots on game to 45 yards and less. At those ranges, there's simply no discernible accuracy difference.
So the accuracy topic is for sure a big deal to me. I say that because I think confidence in your setup is probably the most critical factor for success. For me, I've had some weird stuff happen with fixed heads while practicing for hunts at extended distances. Whereas I've always had field point accuracy at all distances when I've been running a mechanical head. So in terms of the accuracy conversation, I think it's difficult to argue that overall, in most cases, it's going to be easier to set up your bow and get consistent accuracy from a mechanical head. It shoots just like a field point. I just like getting my bow set up and knowing that it's gonna work. So we could talk about this for hours. There are so many different variables to broadhead selection and a lot of different arguments and debates that people have. But here's a couple of them to think about. First of all, what about, do fixed blades actually break through bone better? I know you hear that sometimes, but do you think it's true?
Well, it's a great question. From my experiences, I have little doubt this is true. And to me, what we're really talking about here is how will your broadhead help you in the event of a poor hit? I know from experience my best chances for a complete pass-through shot comes with a premium fixed head. And I believe 2 holes in an animal is vastly superior to 1.
Another thing I hear a lot, it seems like a lot of bow hunters believe that as soon as you get to anything bigger than a deer, you need a fixed blade broadhead. But then somehow magically, deer size and smaller mechanicals work just fine. The reality is, from what I've seen, a lot of different North American big game animals of all sizes are taken successfully with fixed and mechanical broadheads, including giant 6x6, 7x7 bull elk. So my recommendation would be shoot what you have the most confidence in. My answer might not be the same as yours, but when it comes to bow hunting and accuracy, the confidence factor is huge.
I'm going to go ahead and agree with that 100%, Josh. It is all about the confidence, and my choice might not be the same as yours, but as long as you're confident in that broadhead, you're miles ahead. So how about the school of thought that says mechanicals cause more damage due to generally having larger cutting diameters? Well, here's another situation that would seem to be true on paper, but can also be a bit misleading. Mechanicals with larger diameters sure look deadly, but if shot into an animal with only partial penetration, is that better than a complete pass-through with a more compact fixed head? Here again, I'll take the 2 separate holes with the fixed heads most every time. So listen, broadhead debates can go on forever, right? But it's important to note that Josh and I agree on several factors, and those include that overall quality of construction and durability of the head is just as important as how it operates.
Another thing that we agree on, I think anybody could agree on, is that no matter what type of broadhead you choose, the blades need to be surgically sharp for maximum blood loss. And also, when it comes to practicing, you need to practice before your hunts with your broadheads. You need to do that as much as possible from all possible distances you intend to shoot. Otherwise, you really don't have any idea how that broadhead is going to perform, because with accuracy being first, you need to know that it's going to fly straight and hit where you're trying to aim.
Well, I know we've talked a lot about mechanical and fixed heads here today, Josh, and we've made a lot of good points. What's the takeaway for you?
I think the biggest thing is, first of all, you need to do your research. Don't just go buy heads blindly. Watch stuff like our annual broadhead field test that you do, and just try to do your best research before you go make that purchase. Find a couple of different options. Test them on the archery range. If they work there and you're confident in them and you can shoot them accurately, then you're on your way to success in the field. But ultimately, you got to use them in the field.
Agreed. Your next step is to use your choice on animals, and it'll tell you all you need to know about your latest broadhead choice.